All right. Happy Sunday. First day of March, right? Today. Crazy how fast February went. For you too?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was insane, but it's done. So I mean, it is what it is. On to the next month, right?
No, we can't hold it up. So time doesn't, we can't control it. But yeah, it's been a while since we've been on. Took a 2 week break here. Like Johnny said, it's been a crazy month for February. But we're
Mhm.
back, and we're back here. Tonight's episode. Have you ever ran into this, Johnny, where some homeowner comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, thinking about selling my house. I own a house, but I might try to rent it out. I don't know what to do." You ever seen that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people contemplate that all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
when they're thinking about upgrading, when they're thinking about a few different things, they contemplate trying to figure out what to do with it exactly. And depending on the individual, they make decisions based on what it is that's going on.
Right, right. And some of this is, of course, if they're aware of how to build wealth through real estate. You know, I mean, there are some people who are very hesitant, right, about of being a landlord, right? Because there is a
Mhm.
lot that goes along with that.
Oh,
But
heck yeah.
I mean, when you own a house and you could potentially keep it, you could potentially just sell it and be done with it. There's a lot of things to consider. So in this episode 20 here, we're already at 20. Um, we're gonna help you talk through it, right? What based on your own unique situation, everybody's situation is a little bit different, right? Um, the amount of equity you have, what have you, right? It's gonna be slightly different for you. So, we're gonna break this down for you, give you somewhat of a game plan, right? So that should you sell it or should you keep it, um, and just give you a thought process of, you know, what goes through the mind of somebody who is trying to build their wealth, right? Um, so, without further ado, let's get right into this here. So, through the past couple of years, right, with COVID, values have gone up like crazy, right? So, I mean, if
Mhm.
you are one of the lucky individuals who is sitting in a home pre-COVID or even early on COVID, um, you could be sitting on a ton of equity, right? Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so you got some decisions to make there. Do you keep it? Makes it tough. Do you keep it? Do you sell it? What about taxes, right? um,
Mhm, mhm.
and then of course, some of you might be thinking, well, why would I ever want to sell a house? I got it really low interest rate. I got tons of equity. Why would I ever want to sell? Well, I mean, life happens, right? You might have more kids. Your kids might move out, right? So you might want a bigger house. You might want a smaller house. You might want better weather, right? Change your location, job relocation, right? All sorts of things, all sorts of reasons cause people to move, right? Death, marriage, divorce, right? Diapers. So a lot of D's there, right? Um, so what question should somebody ask themselves, Johnny, when they are? What's the first question they need to ask when they're thinking about this?
Yeah, I think the first question they have to ask is, what's your real goal, right? What is it that you're looking for? Do you have liquidity? Do you need the liquidity, right? Do you need the liquidity right away? Do you want passive income? Um, are you going to be upgrading your lifestyle, right? These are some of the questions that you're going to be thinking about. And then also, are you trying to build long-term wealth? Because selling and renting are two completely different wealth paths, right? So it's going to really depend on what it is that you're looking to do for your goals, whether it is a long-term goal or a short-term goal, whether it's so for example, I have a house that I was contemplating this for a little bit. I was like, should I rent it out or should I sell it, right? And I picked it up in December. We talked about it a little bit on a few other shows, and so it's been fully rehabbed now. The house is in. There's just some touch up and cleanups that I have to do. Um, and I decided that I want to put it on the market, right? Because I need the funds to do something else with,
Yeah.
to make a more significant profit than if I was to go ahead and just rent it out. Plus, um, like for that specific property, I'm going to be paying taxes on it because it's not my home, right? It's not my personal property. If it's your personal property, one that you currently live in, your primary home, there's tax breaks on that, but for your investment properties, there are no tax breaks, so I'm gonna probably be having to pay a significant amount of taxes, but it's worth it because of what I'm gonna be doing with it, with the funds later on, because I actually need the liquid funds to be able to utilize in some of the things that I'm gonna be doing here in the future. So
Got
it's gonna every individual is gonna be completely different, right?
Right, right. Okay, so I mean, let's talk a little bit more about that. Um, let's make the case for selling it, right? So you just mentioned you're going to sell your investment property you just picked up. That was, I mean, it was supposed to be a flip, anyways, right? So
Yep, yep,
basically, you're going to continue through with the plan, the original plan.
yep.
So let's talk about when does cashing out make sense, right? And you already talked a little bit about this, but let's go through a little bit more.
Yeah, so it makes sense when you need the cash right away, right? Like, say, for example, you have only one home, it's your primary home, and you need all of the cash, every single dime to pay the mortgage and then to utilize to pay for your new house that you're going to be obtaining. And so, since you need that, you're going to have to, what is it? Sell the house, right?
Right, right,
Also, if you're thinking about investing, right, and it doesn't make sense to invest that specific property because you can't get cash flow, well, of course, then you want to go ahead and sell the house, right?
mm,
If your mortgage is really, really high and in that specific environment, it's all homes that are bought instead of homes that are rented, and there's no way to cash flow, then you're probably going to want to sell it. If the house needs a ton of repairs, right? Excuse me. A little sick today, but um, if you need heavy repairs, right, it might make sense to just go ahead and sell it. Repairs cost a lot of money, especially if you don't have the funds up front to do all of those repairs. You might just want to sell it the way that it is, right? Another thing is if you don't want to be a landlord, right? I mean, there's other options like hiring a property manager to run it, but again, if you don't cash flow with the property manager, there's no point. And then if you don't want to, buy a new toilet every so often, you may not want the responsibilities of being a landlord. You might want to go ahead and sell it. And then finally, um, if you need the equity to qualify for your next move, then you're going to need to be able to sell the property and get the funds so that you can use it. Some of the things that earlier I was kind of talking about for taxes, if it's a primary residence, right? If you're a single person, you can get up to $250,000 of gains, right? With it being tax free. And then if you're a married couple, you can get up to $500,000. I mean, that's pretty good. But on a investment property, you're gonna have to pay the gains um, based on your tax bracket, right? So of course, make sure you
mm,
talk to your CPA and get that information. Um, I think that's pretty much all I have, right?
right,
You
right.
you won't have tenants, right? You won't have tenants, so you don't have the headaches.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So just kind of recap, right? If you need the funds in order to buy your next house, basically a home sale contingency, right? What we call it in the real estate world, essentially means that you're planning to use some of the proceeds from the sale of your current home in order for you to buy that next home, right? And another way is to say it is basically you can't carry two mortgages at the same time, right? You with
Right.
your current amount of finances, you don't have enough to do that, right? So if that's the case, throw that out the window. You can't keep it. You can't rent it out. Okay. Um, yeah. And what's the situation when because you've been a loan officer longer than I have. Now, what if your intention is to rent it out, but you don't have a tenant in place yet? Are Is the borrower allowed to use the potential income from the future lease, supposedly, to qualify for the income in the next one? Are they allowed?
Yeah, yeah. So it depends on what you're trying to do on the next property. Let's say you're trying to buy a
Mhm,
primary home and you're going to
mhm,
use the conventional or FHA or something like that. The
mhm.
lenders usually allow you to use about 75% of the future rent, right?
Okay.
So if you have a lease agreement and they've already paid out the amount,
Mhm.
so you basically have to have a lease agreement where it begins after you close,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And then you have to have the security deposit plus first month's rent. Once
Mm,
you have that, you can use 75% of the
money.
rental income from that property to help you qualify from a debt to income ratio perspective.
Okay, okay. So the important part is you have to have that lease signed and ready to go. They're not just gonna believe you, like, "Yeah, as soon as I'm out, I'm gonna put somebody in," right? So, okay, so good to know there. Um, and then we talked about taxes. Now, you mentioned the tax-free gains. This is also a very common question I get from a lot of sellers, right? And I'm sure you do too. Is
Yeah,
oh,
for sure.
hey, I don't, I don't want to pay taxes when I sell my house, right? And then of course the you mentioned already the amounts that are uh, pretty much tax-free, which is 250K if you're single, 500K if you're a couple married, right? Now, the other thing that was kind of left off was that you have to stay in your property 2 years in order to exercise this, right? Two of the last five. So it doesn't have to be 2 consecutive years, but you have to have stayed there 2 full years, right? And a lot of some people, oh, I've only been there like 6 months. I've only been there a year, and I want to sell. I want to move. Life happened. I need to move. Can I get an exemption?
I I think talk to your CPA and find out. There might be some
Pretty
loophole I
much.
don't know about,
Pretty
but
much, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep,
We're not tax advisors here,
that's
so
essentially what I tell them too, because I don't wanna
yeah.
be liable for it, but, uh, I tell them that, and then, of course, the other option is, hey, if you don't wanna sell yet, right, because you don't wanna get hit with the tax gains, right, then hold on to it, rent it out, right? That's another
Mhm.
option you have to kick that can later down the road, and who knows, you might move back into that house later for at least another year, and then you qualify and you sell.
Mhm,
So that's how you
mhm.
could play it. All right. So now let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the other side, right? So the folks who are listening, they want to build their wealth and they're like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to sell it. All those things you talked about. I'm good keeping it. Okay. So what are the pros for renting this out?
So the pros would be, cash flow, appreciation, low down like what is it? The tax benefits, right, for depreciation. And then the thing is that you got your tenants that are going to be paying for the mortgage, right?
Mhm.
And so
Right.
someone else is paying for you to keep your assets. I think that, like if you talk to any real estate investor, we're gonna say that you should never sell, right? You should never sell. The only reasons you would sell is because you have to. But if you
Mm,
don't have to, you should keep it and then turn it into some kind of cash flowing property. Now, if you need to take that money and purchase another one or something bigger, yeah, go ahead and move forward with something like that. But if if you could, like, if you talk to anybody who's been in the real estate business for about 30 years or more, they're going to tell you to just keep it, right? Pick up
mm,
something else. You figure out some kind of different ways to pick up the next property, and let that cash flow come in over time. You're going to be able to draw from, you're going to be able to draw the equity out without having to pay taxes on it. And the rent is still going to be continued to be paid by someone else. So it makes sense for you to go ahead, especially if your interest rate is super low, right? And your monthly payment is super low. That allows you to be able to have um, the ability to make more income, more cash flow on that specific property.
mm. Okay. Okay. No, definitely. It makes sense. I mean, especially based on what you said earlier, what your goals are, right? If your goal is to build your wealth, financial independence eventually, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Uh, and you're still in the building phase, right? You're collecting, building your portfolio, right? So we're not talking about you're going to go sell this thing and go buy your dream house that's going to cost a fortune, right? That's not what
mhm,
we're saying you're going to do. I mean, it might be a little bit nicer, but not nothing too crazy, right? So it makes sense to keep it, right? If the strategy again, the goal is wealth creation, stack as many, you know, units as you can. And I agree with you, right? If you ask us, should we ever sell? Most of us are going to say never, right?
mhm. Yep,
hold it forever. Um,
yep.
and and really, I mean, just look at 10 years difference, right? I mean, if you are that old, like us, if you're some old farts like us,
Right.
um, and you realize that, wow, 10 years ago, home prices you thought was expensive then, right? And then now we're today looking back, right? Because hindsight's always 2020, right? You're like, should have bought more. So
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
very good insight there. And then of course, you want to actually run the numbers, right? So um like Johnny said, if you hold it and it's not going to cash flow, there's really no point, right?
Mhm,
Um, However, if you're sitting on a ton of equity, right? And depending on your plan again, if you're sitting on a ton of equity, right? Like let's say over 100K, 200K, right? Something like that, right? And you're kind of in the beginning phase or whatever you want to do. I mean, if you could do a lot more with that equity, say you take that and you use it as down payment for 4 different properties, that's a game changer, right?
mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
so you gotta work the numbers, talk to a professional, talk to a real estate, agent, loan officer who actually understands investing, right? Not a lot of agents, not a lot of loan officers even understand about investing. It's like Greek to them, right? You ask them about, oh, can I take a HELOC out to go buy investment property? They're going to be like, no, that's it. That's illegal. You can't do that. It's like, really? No, that's, don't listen to them. But it is really possible to max the game is to maximize your equity, right? And you really got to talk to people who know what they're doing and can help you strategize, right? Um, but I think along with that, the biggest thing is you have to be comfortable with the game plan. If you're not comfortable with it, you don't understand it, then you may not want to do it, right? So, um, of course, everybody's situation is different. You guys want to talk numbers, run through scenarios, reach out to us. We're happy to help. So, um, some other big misconceptions here. When people sell a home to buy another one, right? What what are some of those, Johnny, that people might think or assume automatically?
So, some people are gonna say, like they have to sell in order to buy again, right? I think that's one of the biggest ones is people think that in order for them to be able to get the funds from their specific property to purchase the next one, they have to sell. But that's not always true, right? So what you could do is typically when you're buying a primary home, right, you can use a conventional loan. Unless you're buying over, I think I can't remember exactly what the conventional loan limits are, but I think it's like in the 800s, right?
Mhm, mhm.
If you're buying well into the 800s or into the 900s, you may not be able to use a typical conventional loan, but usually they allow you, to put 5% down if you're in that range, right? If you're buying under $800,000, you're going to be well within a range where you could just put 5% down. So if all you need is 5% down, you can do a home equity loan on your specific property, assuming you have equity in it, right? Because you're going to be selling it to get the equity anyways, right? To buy your next house. You do a home equity loan, whether that's on an investment or on a conventional, and then you go ahead and just put in the 5%. Um, and then you're able to continue to rent out that specific property. You may not, the interest rate might be low on your primary loan, right? And it might be a little bit higher on your home equity loan. However, right, it's still probably going to be cheaper than if you were to just go ahead and outright sell the whole entire thing, not make any future income. And then, when you go and buy the new property, the interest rate might be a little higher than the current interest rate now. So then you might not make as much um income year over year, or month over month, right? So you could also do a cash out refinance, right? Usually cash out refinances go up to about, like, I've seen them go up to 85% loan to value. So you could do that, especially if you're converting it to a rental property. And then last but not least, you can convert it into a rental property for debt to income ratio purposes, like we talked about just a little bit ago. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can move forward without having to liquidate the whole entire property, right? So that's definitely a big misconception out there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the nice part about having a HELOC versus doing a cash out refinance, especially if you got in during the 2%, 3%, right? COVID times, those interest rates.
Yeah.
You're not trying to put a 6%. You're not trying to cash out refi and put a 6%, on your mortgage. No, that's stupid.
Right. That would make sense. Yeah.
you know, um, Dude, 2%, 3%, that's like free money right there. So the HELOC comes in second position behind your primary first loan. And so as long as you can support showing that you can pay both the primary, the HELOC, and your new loan on your new property, right? As long as you can show that you have the DTI, all that, you're good. So we can help you out to do that. And of course, the strategy really comes in here where what are you going to buy next, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
This is kind of the biggest strategy, right? Like we talked about earlier a little bit, like don't go blow it and buy like your dream house, right? Especially if you're trying still in the build cash flow, build wealth phase, right?
Yep.
You're not in the I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna kick back and relax phase yet. Um,
Yep.
so of course you can buy a fixer upper home, right? Get some sweat equity. That would be a great pickup. Alternatively, you could buy a multifamily, right? Two to four unit. Rent, live in one, rent out the rest. That would totally like increase your amount of cash flow, right? So there, you got some options there on what you want to do. Now let's talk about when renting might not be the right move. When is it the bad move?
Like we said earlier, if it doesn't cash flow, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a property that no matter what you do, um you look at the numbers and they're just not going to work, then you're going to probably want to sell, right?
Yeah.
Secondly is you've looked into doing a cash out refinance, doing a home equity loan, all that stuff, and you just don't have the sufficient uh assets or sufficient reserves, right? That is needed.
Okay.
um when you look at the, like, if you're financially stretched, right,
Mm.
you could probably, that's probably a good sign to know that it's probably not a good idea for you to go ahead and move forward with that. And then if you hate dealing with problems, right, you just don't want to deal with people and just in general, then you might want to go ahead and get rid of that too.
Hmm.
So, and I think finally, if the property, you just know that the values are just going to drop, right? And there's like it, let's say if there was a major employer that just moved out of that city, you might want to go ahead and just sell it too. So I
Right.
think those are some of the events where you're going to want to go ahead and instead of renting it, just go ahead and get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, great points. Great points. Um, all right. So let's talk a little bit more strategy now. Um, so, I mean, we already kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, but if you're in the wealth building phase, right, and you're in this type of situation, right? I mean, I've helped another investor actually over the summer do this exact same thing, right? Or he was in this same scenario, right? And he came to me. He was like, "Hey, bought this house in 2022. Was it sitting on like 150K of equity, right? Like, if I rent out my house, do you think it's going to actually cash flow? And I told him, well, what are rents going for in your area? And he's like, oh, he's like, my mortgage is like 2 grand, whatever, or something like that. Like, dude, if the rents aren't even 2 grand a month, then no, right? You can't even cover your mortgage, then don't even think about renting it out, right? It's not worth going down that plan. Now you're sitting 150K of equity. That sounds good, right? We could do a lot with that, right? We could work with that part. So basically, I told him the strategy was like, hey, let's sell your home. You will have the 150K of equity. Let's go buy you a duplex, right? You can live in one unit, you can rent out the other, and we're going to give you a 5% down minimum, right? 5% down minimum down payment. Now you got all this other equity, right? And the nice part was he bought a fixer upper as well. So he's got an opportunity for sweat equity on his duplex. It was severely under rented. It was like $800 a month. Current market rates, at least 1,200, 1,250 a unit. Could possibly get 1,500, right? So after he goes through now, because he's got all his profits still from the sale, even after his down payment, buying his new building, now he's got money to rehab, right? Both units, bring all those rents back up to market rate. And now he's going to have basically his new tenant is going to basically cover more than half of his new mortgage, right?
Nice.
He's not living free, but he's probably paying like $500 a month, right? Something like that, right?
So he's house hacking. He's gonna
Yeah,
be
he's house hacking. Yep.
nice. That's perfect.
And then the other thing is he still has his whole pile of money still left over even after the rehab. So he's like, so I'm like, hey, here's what we do with that, right? He's like, how soon can I go buy another property after I already buy one? I was like, well, if it's an investment property, you can buy it as whenever you want, as long as you qualify, right? And so now, once he's done and he's ready to buy that next property, right? He's still rehabbing his place right now, but once he's ready to move on and add another unit to his portfolio, we're like, hey, come talk to me. We'll go shop in Milwaukee where duplexes, multifamily are cheap, right? 100K under, around there, right? But essentially, we're going to help him get another multifamily investment property down in Milwaukee that's going to cash flow, right? And so, I mean, if he really wanted to, he could probably buy 2 or 3 more if he wanted to, right? But take it slow, by one at a time. See how
Yeah, for sure.
especially with being new to landlord life, right? So, unless he's like, hey, I'm ready, let's go, all out, right? And then I told him after 2 years, or even after 1 year, actually, right? Because he's not selling his duplex he just bought. So he's not selling it. I said, hey, as soon as you complete the 1 year, you fulfill the mortgage that you've been there 1 year. Now you can move out, buy another duplex if you wanted to, right? It's all about comfort level, right? You go house hack again, and then you put somebody else in your unit that you were just at, that hopefully is all fixed up. Now that place is going to cash flow, and then he's going to go get another duplex or another multifamily to do it all over again. And I mean, he could rinse and repeat this a couple times, right?
Yep.
All up until he feels comfortable that, hey, this is enough for me. Like, I want to get a regular house now with my own privacy, and yeah, right. So that's kind of the strategy that we have going on for him. And so, and the other day he called me. He's like, hey, would it be easier if I just bought like a 8-unit apartment? I was like, oh, bless you. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That would probably be a lot easier because everything's in one location, right? Scale and everything. And the hardest part is you have to have the down payment, right? You have to have 20, 25, maybe even 30 with commercial loans, because anything in 5-unit plus is considered a commercial property. We can do non-QM loans up to 8 units. Usually 8 is kind of the number. So that means a 30-year fixed interest rate loan. 4 up to 8 units typically. We might have a couple other lenders that will do like 12, right? But
Yep.
typically nothing bigger than that. Once you
Right.
go bigger than that, you got to go full commercial,
Yep.
which is usually about 25, 30. It really all depends on the rates these days with commercial, and things are expensive these days. So
Yep.
yeah, and commercials for the people who don't understand or haven't not aware of it. Commercials like 5-year loan terms, right? 5 to
Yep.
7, maybe 10 if you're lucky, if you have a really good relationship.
Yeah, the
Um,
balloons. Yep.
right, but yes, they're all balloon loans. So meaning that after 5 years, you better have an exit plan. You better be able to pay that off, or you need to be able to refi, basically get another loan, right?
Yep.
Um, and this is where a lot of commercial investors are getting in trouble right now because they bought during COVID when the rates were 4%, right? And COVID was back, what, 5 years ago, right?
Yep.
And so now their loans are being called due. And so if you're a smart investor, start paying attention out there. You may see some commercial apartment deals come out, right? Because if they have to put a new loan on at 7% and they did not execute their plan correctly, right? Whatever that might be, sweat equity, market rate rents, whatever. If they were not able to do that and they were barely cash flowing at 4%, now they have to get a new 7% loan or whatever it's going to be. That's more money, more loss for them, right? They're bleeding,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Um, so there may be a lot of commercial opportunities coming up this year, especially. So keep an eye out on that. I know I will be. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll be paying attention too. Like this year is the year that I plan on picking up like a
okay,
bigger multi-family unit. So if the
nice.
opportunity presents itself, we're
Hmm.
gonna be jumping in. So that's
Nice.
something that yeah, that we're gonna be looking for.
Yep. So opportunities gonna be out there, guys. So, and the rates are coming down again too. So, which is pretty nice because, honestly, like a lot of those multifamily deals past couple of years, they have not been penciling out. The numbers just didn't work. Like the rates are too high. But essentially, yeah, that's kind of the game plan that we would recommend, right? I mean, anything differently you would do?
Um, no, I think like you said, it's gonna depend on your individual goals, what it is that you wanna do. So, like
Mhm.
Laura said, if you have any questions or you wanna consult with anybody, feel free to just give us a call, right? And talk to us about it. But in the meantime, once you know your goals and you know that, let's say, for example, long-term wealth is the direction that you wanna go and you wanna keep your properties, then go ahead and do it. I had a buddy that that's what he did with his first house. He decided to rent it out, and then he moved into a new house, a bigger house, because he was earning more income, right?
Mhm.
And he was a single guy. He had a single family home in the Twin Cities here, rented it out, bought a much bigger house, and so every time he wanted to buy another house, that's what he did was he just rented out the previous one, and so he got up to about like 10 houses doing that exact
Mhm.
scenario, and he's cash flowing. Like he retired. Eventually, so I was working with him at Wells Fargo, and eventually he's like, you know what? I'm tired of working here, so I'm just not going to work here anymore, and I'm just going to leave because my rental properties pay me more than what I'm currently getting here at my job. So,
Yeah.
um, that might be the answer for you. Now, if that is not the goal, right, and you need the funds immediately, say for example there was an emergency, like I don't know if anybody knows, but like my spouse, she has a medical condition, and sometimes you need funds right away, right? And so when you need funds right away, you have to liquidate, and so it just is what it is. But if you have the ability to hold long term, that's what we would recommend you to do.
Yeah. And you know, we are talking about building wealth through real estate, but one of the things with real estate you have to realize is that you can't liquidate real estate really fast, right?
Right.
If you're thinking about selling, you're thinking about doing HELOC, you're thinking about doing cash out refi, it could take 30 days,
Yep.
right? It could,
Yep.
right? So it's not exactly fast moving. I mean, you
Most
could be
likely.
right?
Yeah.
You could be sitting on a house that's free and clear, right? But all of a sudden, like you said, emergency hits, health, medical condition, you're like, dang, I need to pull my money out, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, I mean, if you have that type of situation, it might be good for you to have a HELOC just ready to go, right? So if you're not familiar with a HELOC, home equity line of credit, basically like a credit card for your house, right? Based on the amount of equity you have, the bank's going to determine the value of your house. They're going to give you typically 80% if it's primary owned, right? You could go higher, but uh, more interest rate, right?
Mhm.
But essentially, whatever equity you have available, let's say 50K, you basically have a 50K credit card that you can draw on whenever you want. So you go and use it, right? You can buy furniture, you can remodel, you can go put a down payment on another property. You could buy if you find 50,000, if you're in that market where you can find a $50,000 property to cash out to flip, you could do that, right? Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I am. So I've had some investors do that where they just write a check out of their HELOC and they go cash out properties. And then what they do is, the game, right, is that you get that property up and running, you get renters in there, rehab, rent it out, and then you come back to a loan officer like me and Johnny. He's like, hey, I got this place, it's free and clear. Let me get a mortgage on that. Right. So basically you're taking out debt again on it. You're putting a loan on it. And if it's free and clear, we're saying, okay, the house is worth your place is worth 200,000. We'll give you 70%, whatever, right? 70%. So that's 140K. And as long as your numbers all made sense, you bought that property for less than 140K, the rehab included with that is less than 140K. You can pull off 140K. You might have just paid off your HELOC originally, right? You paid that off, you paid off your credit cards or whatever. So that's a really good one, right? Even better is if you even had excess profit. So if you have excess profit, that's even better, right? And then you can roll that into the next deal and the next one and the next one.
Mhm.
Like your guy did, right? At Wells Fargo. He hit the holy grail, right? Got the FU money, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
he's like,
Yeah, so he
yeah,
could just leave his job, yep.
yeah, got the financial freedom money, the FU. I don't need to be here, man. Stop
No.
worried about me being here at 9 o'clock and leaving at 5 or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, no, I don't miss a regular job.
No doubt, right?
But yeah, no, I mean that's the whole goal, right? Is to build up your portfolio, build up each house, and then like we said, as you're leaving each house, I mean, you mentioned your renter, your tenant. If it works out great, properly, your tenant is paying down that mortgage for you, right?
Yep.
And so you're holding on to it. And as you're building more, each one of those houses is being paid down. And so now you have equity in each one of those, right? And so it's all building up, right? And then 10 years in the future, hopefully they've built up enough equity. Hopefully that cash flow has been continuing. And if you wanted to do, if you decided, hey, I want to retire, I want to go somewhere warm, get my dream house, get a boat, sell it all and go do that, right? Whatever you want to do, or keep it. So that's kind of the game plan for some people here. So anything else? Anything did I miss?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all.
Yeah.
The thing with real estate investing is that's what you do. You continue to pick up homes until it gives you enough money to do what you want to do. And like even if you think about liquidating it, let's say in retirement you decide you want to move, it probably doesn't make sense to do something like that. You could probably just hire a property manager to manage it, and then you can go do it all over again wherever it is that you move to. And so, continue to up your game. A big thing is buying assets is how the rich gets richer, right? And so having a home, that's an asset. um don't go and buy that Tundra, right? Like I say it all the time, but instead go and buy a house that will continue to grow in value with you, right? At least covers inflation, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, what you got
So
to do is you buy the investment house first, right?
no,
Your tenant pays for your Tundra.
exactly, exactly.
Or you flip the house, right? Like exactly what you're doing. You
Yep.
you buy a flip, sweat equity put into there, and then that profit that you're going to get from your flip, you could go cash out a Tundra if you wanted to.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree. I wouldn't tell you to go cash out a Tundra. I would say go and do another flip, but or do something else, buy an asset. Like the Tundra thing, I'll buy a Ferrari before I buy a Tundra.
Man, I'm starting to think you don't like Tundras. Tundras are pretty good cars.
No, I'm look, if you utilize it for its worth, right? If you are in construction and you're lifting things all the time, if you're like, look,
If you're doing flips in your house,
yeah, if you're doing flips on your house and you need to be able to carry all this stuff on your truck, like
yeah.
I drive a Camry and I can do flips, right?
Yeah,
It's
I was gonna ask you.
unnecessary.
I was gonna ask you, what do you use for your flip? Probably your minivan, your Honda Odyssey.
Well, so I hire people to do things for me, and
Oh yeah,
so I don't ever need to bring anything over there. Like it just, I don't know, man. Like
I just
I
mess.
look, they're good cars. I have nothing against the car itself. I just think that most people can't afford one. So it's best
Well,
if you don't jump into that kind of a finance. Now, if you have all the cash in the world, yeah, get one. It's an amazing vehicle, right?
I don't know. I don't know about the new ones. I heard they've been blown up. So I mean,
Oh no, that's crazy.
yeah. Supposedly their motors have been blown up. They decided to go twin turbo V6, so not the best
Uh,
decision. But yeah, I have the original. I have the 2007 V8, the 5.7, and
let's see.
hey, yeah, it's
And you
rusted
love
out
your
like
Tundra?
crazy. I kind of like it sometimes, but it always runs, right? That's what I like about it. But you miss the creature comforts like the built-in GPS screen, the Bluetooth, dude. Especially when you're like us, you're always talking on the phone. You know,
Yeah.
you go like speakerphone, and then yeah, and it's not a very practical realtor car, especially at 10 miles per gallon. Not practical at all. But you get the miles per gallon. So, but yeah, that's it for this show here. So we're not gonna keep you guys any longer. A little short and sweet show this time. So we'll work on putting it on the next one. We'll see you next week. Have a great Sunday night. Happy March. Later.